The US and China have said they agreed to the first phase of a broader trade agreement, but some say that this comes at a heavy price for China. While White House economic advisor Larry Kudlow says the so-called Phase 1 trade deal between Washington and Beijing has been absolutely completed, experts say that China's needs and US product prices are crucial for any larger shifts in purchasing patterns. The most immediate benefit for China of the Phase 1 trade deal will likely be an increase in its purchase of US farm products, say experts, but larger shifts in the trade balance will depend on demand and market competitiveness of US products. But experts say that with variables such as the US elections, Trump's impeachment process, and the continued economic performance of both countries, it is unclear what the next phase of talks could look like. China correspondent Lim Yan Liang wrote a couple of analyses on this, and live from China via Skype right now is Yan Liang himself. Hi, Yan Liang.
Hi, Kimberly.
All right. So in one of your analyses, right, you actually mentioned that China paid a heavy price for the trade deal with the US. What is that price exactly?
Well, it's literally a heavy price for China because if you believe what President Donald Trump has said, as well as what the US Trade Representative has said, China has pledged to buy between US 50 billion in American farm goods next year to up to US 80 billion in things like soybeans within the next 2 years. If you consider the fact that China bought just shy of US $25 billion worth of farm goods in each of the years before the trade war started, this means that China must buy between 3 to 4 times the amount of farm goods that it has bought in the last few years. So experts like Sino-US Renmin University expert Shi Yinghong have said that there is not a sustainable trajectory for China. And if you listen to the US side and believe that this is what China has promised to buy, then China might not be able to sustain this pace of purchase of American farm goods. This is also why Chinese officials in the last few days have stressed time and again that China will not be held to certain dollar commitments in its purchase of farm goods, but that this will depend strictly on market competitiveness of the goods as well as its own domestic needs.
Right. So, and actually, this back and forth, right, has been happening for a while now, right? How do you think this has impacted the two countries, especially when it comes to their power dynamics?
Well, both sides have been very insistent on controlling the narrative when it comes to the Phase 1 agreement. So, earlier on Friday, China, despite having a press briefing, the Foreign Ministry regular press briefing, and it was asked about this, it deferred any comment to the Commerce Ministry, who did not make any remarks until literally 11th hour press briefing at 11 p.m. at night. And so that was around 10 a.m. In the US when Trump also began to tweet about the Phase 1 agreement. China has been trying to frame the trade agreement as more of a, on principle, return to fair trade and a move away from tariffs, while President Trump has been trying to talk about the numbers, about the amount of goods that Beijing has committed to buy.
I see.
So it depends very much on who you ask, because there's a prevailing sense in Beijing that if you talk long-term trajectory, it's a matter of time before China overtakes the US to become the world's largest economy. So while he has made concessions in this Phase 1 deal, such as in IP protection, in promising not to do forced technology transfer, and in liberalizing its financial sector, in Beijing's view, these are worthwhile giveaways to ensure short-term economic stability and to forestall any economic shock from any extra tariffs.
Right. So I guess the question on everyone's mind right now is sort of, what's next? What's to come?
Well, the Phase 1 deal still has to be ratified by both sides. It has to go through a legal process both within Beijing and in Washington. And then there's the question of whether down the line both sides agree that they have held to the bargain that has been struck in this December deal. So there's many ways to argue whether either side has held to the deal, and if one side feels that the other has reneged on any of his promises, the whole thing might come apart again the same way it did earlier this year in April when both sides said they were very close to a deal.
I see. Well, thanks for your thoughts on this, Yan Liang. And if you'd like to read Yan Liang's analyses on US-China trade relations, they are available on our website. And those were the top stories of today. For more news and videos, visit straitstimes.com. Once again, I'm Kimberly. Thank you for watching The Big Story, and we'll see you tomorrow.